Jimmy.
Yeah.
You're talking to Zoom. Do you know Zoom Truth?
No.
He's an activist in New Jersey.
How you doing, brother?
David's on.
Hey, so I'm Wendall Walton, and I've been into flat Earth since last March. I met Rob Skiba about 4 years ago at a prophecy conference, and then about a year after that is when he started getting into flat Earth. And I said, Rob, you're destroying your credibility, buddy.
Yeah.
But,
so that was your fault. That was your fault that it took him so long to get to flat Earth.
Yeah.
Somebody's fault. That was you.
But at least I had the chance to look at everything and give Rob a fair hearing. And once I started getting into it, like I say, it's like pulling on a thread. And eventually you find that the emperor has no clothes. But I just actually just flew in from Seattle. My wife and I were up at an Alaska cruise, so I boogied on down here to see the opening of Beyond the Curve. I had lunch with Mark Sargent last week, and he told me I'd probably get pissed after seeing it, which I am in a way. It was unfortunate that Renee went off on Daniel, the director. I think that, when you're the director of a film, you're responsible for its content and what you show and what you don't show. So
how was the movie?
I think that some of that was deserved.
Wow.
Because here's the thing is that, as we've all experienced from the Glober viewpoint, it's just dealing with those surface arguments and not getting really down to the meat of it. And what I was dealing with mainly was the psychology of flat earthers. But, I am on guard against confirmation bias. And I talked a little bit about that confirmation bias. But in every flat earther that I've talked to, if you show them, hey, show me proof of the globe, and I'll switch back over. But we've gone out and done our own observations looking for a curve and never found it. So, but yeah, I would switch back over if you showed me proof. But that hasn't been proven yet. There were two parts, though, that I did appreciate about the movie. There was a gal from Caltech that said that, we shouldn't ostracize. I don't know if she used that word, but that's what she meant. Flat earthers, that we just need to, work with them to try to educate them in the scientific method.
Yeah, but that's condescending, right? I mean, come on.
Well,
Basically, we're saying we're a bunch of retards that need freaking better education.
You could say that, yes.
Dude, you lost your camera.
Oh, I did?
Have a commercial.
The law says you have to have an angle of incidence. It's not there.
Oh,
So then what is it? Right? Is it reflection? Well, no, it can't. You can't have the same observable results over night, over day with mirrors, over different weather conditions, and have them be like, oh, it's the same angle. It's the same refraction is happening. It just doesn't make any logical sense. So, but see, they don't dive down deep enough to do that. What I would like to do is get a copy of the DVD when it comes out and kind of do my own commentary, right? Like just address some of the points there that they don't really.
We'll get our chance.
Really drill down on. Yeah. So maybe when's it supposed to come out? Maybe another month or so. Yeah. They were looking in the panel afterward. I videotaped it. There was supposed to be a Q&A, but I don't think Daniel, the director, was brave enough to take questions from all the flat earthers who were out there in the audience. And finally, like when they were wrapping, Sydney, she stood up and she just blasted them because, they didn't even give us an opportunity for a platform. Yeah, I did.
Oh, I can't wait to see that tape, baby.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Clap, baby. Yeah.
Nice. So it was, because Mark kind of clued me in on what it was about, I knew that there would be some points in there that would really be upsetting. And I don't like really how they portrayed, some of the flat earthers. I think they should have been more fair in that respect. So I understand Renee's anger towards Daniel, but in another sense, it's like we're not really winning over a lot of people when we react that way. because we can choose how we want to either act or react. So, but you know, on the other hand, don't keep it inside. You got to let your emotions out, and that's what he did with Daniel there. So, and maybe you guys didn't see it, but Daniel, he left. He was emotionally affected. He stomped off in a huff. So I think he just left, right?
He just left.
Yeah. So he was out of here.
Well, when you're ashamed of yourself, that's what you do, man. Right?
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, there has to be something there that connected, where he felt maybe he didn't treat us fairly like he should have.
I still had questions, though. I still had questions, man. I had questions.
I know. Oh, shit.
So I do suggest that everyone see it.
Yeah. We'll see it.
But
I tried not to be so pointed, guys. I wanted to kind of be a little heavier on him, but I knew that we would scare him away, you know. And
right.
Well, Renee took care of that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It was a 1-2 punch with Renee.
Someone is going to, I think, at some point. It's truth, man. That's how the truth is.
That's it, right? It hurts, man.
Yeah.
Truth hurts.
So has there only been 2 premieres so far?
What's that?
One in Edmonton and one here?
Yeah,
is
this is the first U.S. Premiere show.
U.S. premiere, okay. Well, I'm glad I was able to make it, definitely.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but the theater was packed.
Packed.
Yeah, and there was a lot of parts that were humorous. That was it wasn't dry by any means. Yeah.
It was an honest portrayal of Patricia and Mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind.
Here we got something going on.
Hold on.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Flat Earth Police.
Yep.
Rich over at Thrive, Mr. Survive, he took that scale.
Scale, yeah.
Right. So I got one just like it, and I calibrated it for where I live out here in LA.
Turn out favorable for the Globe?
I don't know yet. I just have the data.
Okay.
All right. So I took it.
For yours or his?
I took a reading here. I took a reading up in Seattle. I took a reading up at Glacier Bay in Alaska. And then I took another reading in Seattle. I have to take another reading here to see if the scale still zeroes out.
Okay.
And then I can do
It's
that.
an interesting test.
Brother. Nice job.
It's an interesting test. It's an interesting test.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
It is. So if you're probably familiar with the concept.
Yes.
It's that the globe spins 1,000. We should weigh less at the equator than we do at the North Pole.
Right.
Yeah.
So I got to figure out what it is for 500 grams, because the weight is a 500 gram weight. So what that difference would be. But there was a difference at each location. So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, Mr. Driving Smart just did this test last month, I think.
Yeah?
And it kind of held true. It was heavier.
Think about the elevation, though.
Yeah. Elevation?
Yes.
Yeah.
Remember, try to figure out the elevation each place, too, because that might have a key play in it.
I'll
very
include that
thorough,
data.
I'm sure you're thorough too, but we're looking at the data, we're checking it out, we're willing to look at it. If somebody came up to me today and said, "Hey, man, I got some pretty good proof that it's glow," I'm like, "Okay, what do you got?" You know. So I'm open. All information. Hey, there goes our couple new subscribers here on Poncho. We interviewed them. Kind of that girl.
Basically, I'm saying do some different elevation weights with the same weight that you have. You know what I mean? With the 500
Really?
grams or whatever. Do
Okay.
different elevations and see if that has any key factor in anything also, just to make sure.
Well, we've got Mount Whitney here. That's
Nice.
at 14,000 feet. I don't know if I can get that high, but I'll definitely try to different heights as well. The other thing I did is I took this theolodite app and I zeroed it out in Seattle, So I haven't checked it yet here, but if there is a curve, then there'll be a difference in the readings. If not, the Earth is flat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's Sydney was very vocal in the presentation tonight.
I was screaming. Right?
Yeah.
You taped it?
Yeah, I did. I did.
That's awesome.
There's 3 spots open.
So I guess overall, as far as the movie goes, I give it a thumbs up. Just like Mark says, any press is good press. So the people that were Globers there, they enjoyed it. I don't know if they enjoyed it because, like, in a mocking fashion, or, but at least they were entertained.
50% pro flat earth, 50% glow. But at the end, you can't see it all showing that flat earth is a failure. I'm like, I got a few stones, maybe 2 or 3 that go to the other side that might tip it to the other side. If you guys are interested. Of course, nobody's interested.
Just curvature. There's no goddamn curvature.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about anything else. Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
They should hand out like a bunch of blue candy for everyone to eat.
I'm ready.
Whatever the fuck you were thinking, we're doing it again.
All right, we're doing it.
Uh,
It was
explain Nerf.
Yeah, explain Nerf.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Right.
It actually,
Yeah,
it's an acronym for something.
He definitely, the director definitely played it safe. So, and that's kind of what the whole
He played
tone of
it
it was.
Hollywood, right?
Yeah, he did.
He played it Hollywood, man.
Because he didn't want to be ostracized like the
Yeah,
rest
he
of
didn't
us.
want to be ostracized.
Yeah,
He needs to make a living.
Got to try to make a living,
right.
man.
But at least it gets it out there. And
And you know, got to keep the car payment coming in or whatever.
Dude, man, it's that.
well, you know, they tried to push him on what his next project was,
Right.
and he was kind of evasive. So I don't know if he's going to do a follow up or not.
Probably just scared him off.
I held back, but I
was like, somebody had
So did anybody research today? I guess something came out on Netflix about flat Earth.
They don't know my personality.
Anybody follow up on that?
Oh, he's got the
Okay. Tomorrow. We'll do that tomorrow.
One of the things I didn't appreciate though was when they were talking about Bob Nodal and the laser gyro, is that there is other information that has come out subsequent to that.
Right.
So, and they mentioned it towards the end, so they knew at that point, but they could have included it, which is basically that it's just measuring how the universe is rotating around the Earth. That's at 15 degrees right there.
Right.
Because the laser is so sensitive that it would have not only picked up the rotation of the Earth, but the rotation of the Earth around the sun and the whole solar system going through the galaxy.
Right.
But it didn't. It just that 15-degree rotation, which points towards that the universe is rotating around the Earth,
Right.
just like the Planck probe shows. So, but they didn't really point that out, did they? I mean, it was like no piece of evidence was really validated from the flat Earth viewpoint. It was kind of
It's very, very globe.
very nerfy.
Very nerfy.
Yes, very nerfy.
Yeah, so yeah, man. I guess that's a pretty good entry point anyway, so it gives us a chance to pick up from where they leave off, right?
So did you want Snack? You want Dan to come over here with Zulu and Felix or Dave there? They're not really doing anything. What do you want to do? Just working.
Oh, so I don't know if I finished telling you about the Theolodite app, but I think did Rich and Mrs. Fairbanks provide you that as well? I think so.
Theodolite app.
Right.
Yes.
So if you zeroed out where you're at and you travel across the country, because of the curve,
Same
it's
thing
just so
that
something
Dave
different.
Marble did
Right, exactly.
years ago, right?
Yeah,
But
it's a different app.
Is it? It's real. It's reading elevation.
It's really no. It's
Go ahead.
it's reading tilt this way
Yeah.
and this way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So as you go across the globe, since you've zeroed out here, it'll show a difference
But
on this side.
I'm just saying, isn't it like taking like maps data to derive anything like where it might tell you an elevation of where you are?
I think it does have elevation on there.
I mean, how would it detect elevation?
Through GPS, I'm guessing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like it's drawing off some other data set. The
right
phone
now it's saying I'm
itself,
at
the phone
402.
itself cannot derive that information. Is what I'm saying.
But once you can zero it out at any angle. So I put it up against glass and a windowsill. And at first I showed that they were both level, and then zeroed it out on the glass at the SeaTac airport. And but I have yet to check it down here. So we'll put that up on Flat Reality Earth Explorers when I get all that together. So.
Yeah, well, I think it's like a lot of people make arguments with the accelerometer features on that phone, right? And it's part of something like that's called like a MEMS chip. It's a MEMS accelerometer and gyroscope. And you're a smart guy, so check out that chip and tell me what you think, because in my estimation, it looks like an emitter that's just testing its own intermittent resistance when it bends when the field is moving at angles. It like detects that and reads that, so it's like a field generated by voltage. It's a voltage controlled field with something inside it that detects a relative dispositioning by like an interference pattern of some kind. All right, that's what I think it's actually doing. So it's like a relative positioning system. It's not an absolute positioning system. Like it can't tell you exactly accurately how far it falls necessarily. I don't even know if it can tell. Might be able to tell you that it's falling, but it can't really know it's falling because it's just all those sensors are just pinned. Anyway, I don't know. Just something to think about. I know a lot of people talk about the Theodolite app and the level that it's making, but it's making a relatively I don't know. It's hard to understand how that would work reliably in the air.
Come on,
I mean, its position's going to be relative to. Yeah, I don't know.
It does bear more investigation because you have to look at the tools you're measuring with, right? So if the ruler that you're using to measure is crooked, then everything you measure with it's going to be crooked as well.
Well, right, because I mean that's like at the heart of understanding like the whole like particle to wave duality conundrum and idea, to discuss that. Because the sensor plays a part in the entirety of the observation. The sensor plays a part, in a particle to wave, right? Like, so if you have an observer like a person, then somehow their eye contact with it is interfering like in a subtle way. If that's happening, I don't know. We haven't really replicated that test.
Right.
Or if they replace the viewer with a sensor, the sensor is also in some way interfering by just perceiving whatever that element is. So it's hard to get a really pure reading on it.
Well, when Nathan Gonzalez and I went up to Monterey Bay to help Jaron, when was it, 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And it was interesting because I just pulled out the compass app because we have the compass readings to know where to look to each other across the bay, and just set it on top of a fence post, and then it had a reading, and then all of a sudden it just started drifting off to the side, and it's like, well, what's going on? Right? Is there some kind of magnetic interference here? Is it, who knows? Now I have to go out and get a real compass just so that next time, we won't run into that. But you're right. We need to really examine the tools that we have and make sure that they're, giving us an accurate reading of what we're observing. Oh, by the way, I was, Carolyn has come out with these cards.
Yeah.
And been dropping them all over the place. I was dropping them off on the Ruby Princess on the cruise ship, tucking them in little places all over. But I also take a picture of where I drop them. And I was talking to, when I was talking to Mark Sargent, I said, well, look, I can send you pictures of where I've dropped them.
Oh.
And he said, yeah, that'd be great. Just like how he's put up the different license plates, he'll take the, like if you have a Flat Earth business card or whatever, and you're trying to do some flat smacking and take a picture of it, he'll put that up on his show. So just FYI.
Oh, that's cool, man. Hey, I was wondering, you're one of the first people I've heard of to do the P900 conversion.
Right.
And I think Jibby was actually wanting to maybe have it talk about it, because I think he was curious about like using the color feature on it. Like, do you lose the ability to work in color or normally?
No. What you do is, since you've taken out that IR UV cut filter from in front of the sensor, now you just get a UV IR cut filter and put it on the front of the lens. So you're moving it from internal to an external. The only thing that I've noticed that's different, because it does give you, your color camera back, is that sometimes you'll get like more of a lens flare, just because you have that filter on the front.
Well, no, it's because that you've kind of like smudged up or whatever the inner lenses or the inner working. That's why you're getting the lens flare. Because now the internal parts of the camera have been touched, so they're not so pristine of a lens. You have to be extremely careful, like a no dust room kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. All that rubber gloves. It's like they're doing brain surgery. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's, when we did ours, we only had this very sketchy video that really didn't go through the whole process. So a lot of it we kind of found out along the way.
Thank you for the ticket.
Okay, you're welcome. We'll see you later. But after doing 2 of them, we're pretty confident now that it can be done. If you just watch our video, it'll show you all the ins and outs of what we ran across. The most difficult part was getting, I think, the ribbons back in the little socket and flipping that little lever down. But mine's working fine, and so is Nathan's. So.
Good photo.
Oh, gotta go. Great talking to you guys again.
All right, cool, excellent. Hey,
all right.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Hey, good job.
All right, thanks for everything, Wendell.
Okay.
Yeah.